Taigi, laba diena visiems prisijungusiems dalyvauti šios dienos seminare apie Lietuvos maisto produktų ir gėrimų eksportuotojų galimybės šį kartą Vokietijos rinkoje, kurį organizuojame kartu su Lietuvos Respublikos ambasada Vokietijos Federacinėje Respublikoje. Good morning to dear guests from our top priority export market, Germany. Guten Morgen. And I'm Irma Žižiūnaitė-Černiauskienė, head of the Export Promotion and Development team. And before the start, I will give small guidance in terms of technical issues. Kindly be informed that our webinar is recorded. And if you have any questions to our dear speakers, please do not hesitate to ask by clicking the icon, raise your hand, or kindly inquire in English. So Germany is the priority export market for Lithuania, which is the largest economy in Europe and the fourth in terms of nominal GDP in the world. The most motivating factor to expand widely in the German market is that the scale of Lithuania's trade with Germany is growing every year. So how to capture the biggest European grocery market? This is the topic of today's webinar. And it's an honor to introduce our dear speakers. Lithuanian Agricultural Attaché Ms. Eivinos Žižiūnaitės-Allbaz, Mr. Jan Witte, Ms. Caroline Strunz, Mr. Florian Friedler, retail chains experts and professionals at the company Horn&Company, and our dear speaker, Mr. Holger Wagner, retail and communication expert at Food Embassy. So let's start with the welcoming speech of the Lithuanian Agricultural Attaché to Germany, Ms. Eivinos Žižiūnaitė-Allbaz. Welcome, Eivina. Eivina, please, to the stage. Technical issues, apologies for that. Just a moment, I think Eivina will join the Teams meeting again in a moment. Short pause. And welcome again, Eivina.
Labas rytas visiems. Good morning, everyone. Schönen guten Morgen. I guess since BVG is on strike today and no trains and no metros commute, my internet got on strike today as well. So to the ones who know me, good morning again. To the ones who haven't met me yet, I'm Eivinos Žižiūnaitė-Allbaz. I'm the agricultural attaché at the Lithuanian embassy in Germany. And it's my pleasure to host this webinar together with industry professionals. And I'd like to quickly present you again. I guess it was presented by Irma. The Horn&Company is a data-driven top management consulting company with a vast experience and extensive expertise in the retail and consumer goods industry. From strategy development to sales performance or corporate branding identity, they do it all. And today there are with us Ms. Caroline Strunz, Mr. Jan Witte, and Mr. Florian Friedler, who are the retail experts and who will shed more light on the F&B industry in Germany. And the last 15 minutes of the webinar will be taken over by Mr. Holger Wagner, who today will present the company Food Embassy. It's an agency which specializes in the culinary diplomacy and communications in the German-speaking countries, and their service portfolio ranges from customized marketing and public relations to social media services tailored to the specific needs of the F&B industry. And before I hand over the digital stage to our speakers, I'd like to quickly summarize the current temperature of the industry. Having more than 84 million consumers, Germany is considered to be the biggest market in the European Union. Throughout the past years, due to continuous price increase for raw materials and energy resulting from the Russia's war in Ukraine, the German economy has been struggling like never before. Rising inflation and energy prices significantly shrunk the purchasing power of German consumers. Statistics record that from 2022 to 2023 September, 1 year, food prices increased by 17% across all food categories, leaving German citizens spending only 11% of their whole income on food and beverage products. The trends show that living in the increasingly high-paced and a single household society, there's been an increased demand for convenient, ready-to-eat meals, and online food sales continue to record an increase since the pandemic. There is a growing share of consumers who view their purchasing decisions as a political or lifestyle statement, following non-GMO or only free-range eggs, vegetarian or vegan diet, making Germany as well the second largest organic market in the world. Interestingly, even 74% of Germans are concerned about the environment pollution, and 70% are worried about the impact of climate change. Herewith, calling on companies to behave more consciously, for example, by using environmentally friendly packaging materials. Although Germans are generally price sensitive, but consumers are willing to pay a higher price for premium quality products, especially taking into consideration aforementioned environmental things. Country's retail and FMCG sector is saturated, highly consolidated, and very competitive, as the top 4 retail groups together account for around 76% of the total revenue. They say that food products on the German market may require up to 12 or sometimes even up to 18 months of testing to determine the market. In 2022, Germany imported the majority of the agricultural products from Netherlands being their #1 import partner, Italy and Poland. In 2023, Lithuania's exports of agricultural and related products to Germany reached 525 million euros. And without further ado, I would like to call our industry experts, Mr. Witte, Ms. Strunz, and Mr. Fiedler, to confirm or deny what I have just presented, and please advise on how we can do better in this very much willing to enter but very tough market. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Wow. So thanks a lot. Yeah, everything's set. To be honest, now it's our role, let's say, to give some further details here, maybe, and to give you some, let's say, specific ideas on how to act to and how to succeed to enter, let's say, this from my point of view, still very interesting market, very competitive, as you already mentioned. But there's always the comment: if you can do it in Germany, you can do it everywhere. So therefore, let's give you some insights on how the German market is working and what can be your path to success in the German retail environment. So as you already introduced us, we can maybe keep it very briefly, just on a personal level here. The three of us are, let's say, giving some different perspectives on the overall retail and consumer goods market here. Maybe I start with myself. Working as a consultant this is my job right now. But originally, I'm coming from the retail environment, so I worked in my family's company for, let's say, over 10 years, being a supermarket in this environment. Then I changed my role and have went to the headquarters of one of the biggest, or the biggest group in the retail environment, being the Edeka. And afterwards I said, okay, learned a lot here on the industry side. Now I want to, let's say, experience the other side and, let's say, developing the overall sector. And that was the reason why I did the step to the consulting side. So maybe that's my background. If you could continue, Florian.
Of course, like Jan also, being a consultant is just the last step in my career so far. Before I worked mostly for big brands, mostly in fashion and sporting goods, but always was connected to retail, mostly D2C. But since I'm a consultant, also tapping more into food retail, grocery stores, because in the end, retailers are very alike, even if products are a bit different. But the problems, the issues, and everything which concerns them on a daily basis is very similar. So that's why, as a consultant now, I take on a wider range of companies and mostly work with different kinds of retailers, from grocery to fashion.
Okay. So hi, my name is Carolyn. I'm a consultant for over a year now. And before I started my new career as a consultant, I was working for big companies like Reckitt Benckiser and Colgate Palmolive as a key account manager. So I was selling detergents, toothpaste, and toothbrushes to mainly the discounters in Germany. And I'm happy to be here today to share with you my knowledge about the retail industry in Germany.
Yes, super. Thanks. So on the next slide, very briefly, because you already introduced us, yeah. Horn, let's say, is a rather specialized boutique top management consultancy, being, let's say, having a footprint in two diverse sectors which are coming closer and closer together, meaning the financial services, the financial firepower, which is keeping especially the retail and FMCG sector up and running, with having many players financing innovations, startups, and so on in this area. And on the other side, the core business of industry and retail, where we are allocated. And as you already mentioned, we are doing it end to end, I would say. We are, let's say, coming together with our clients when it's about entering a new market or thinking about what is our strategy, or what must be our strategy to be successful, not only this year, but also in the years ahead, in the next century, so to say. And after that, let's say, drilling it down to what is the road to be followed, and then we are coming in the, let's say, real industry and retail specific topics, meaning what must be my assortment portfolio, what is the right, let's say, pricing for my products, who are the customers I need to approach or I am approaching, and what is the right communication of my assortment or my products to this specific group of customers. Yeah, and for sure, as you already mentioned, we are right now in a very challenging environment, also in the industry, also in the retail sector, and also in the food sector. When it comes to, on the one hand side, inflation, and therefore decreasing consumer activeness, and decreasing, let's say, consumer or let's say changing consumer habits to rather price entry level products, and so on and so on. All this, let's say, is having huge effect on the profitability. Top line effects are massive, but even more heavily affected are the bottom lines of our clients. And therefore, we are not only doing, let's say, the profit, the revenue maximization topics, but also now, let's say, I'm very focused on topics like how can we manage to keep our margin up, how can we keep in the end a good EBITDA result, for example. Okay, but that's just a brief introduction. Hopefully we can convince you of that what's standing on this slide is really coming from our day-to-day business. and therefore we would like to dive in now with you in a very interesting topic of giving you on the first hand side, let's say, an overview about the market, trying to give some more facts, adding to what was just said at the beginning here. Afterwards, let's say this deep dive will be on, okay, how is the market structured? Who are the players? What is making them, let's say, an attractive or even challenging partner for me as a, let's say, company wanting to enter the market? We will also give a brief, let's say, view on, let's say, the industry landscape afterwards, meaning, okay, in the categories we having here represented by the guests, what are, let's say, the shares of products, what are the trends there, and so on. And afterwards, we want to give you some, let's say, example and reference-driven strategies for success to enter the German market. So let's say that will be is a brief overview. I have the pleasure now to come to the interactive part, because for us it's always interesting who's on the other side of the screen. Yeah. And in this sense, I mean, and I want to introduce you or invite you to join our short Mentimeter, which is, from my point of view, a very lean tool to ask you some questions and get some insights from your view as well. And therefore, I would ask you to, photograph or scan the QR code or enter the code on the website. And therefore, we will then join just for 2 or 3 minutes with a short survey here. So, Caro, can you maybe take the lead, because you're our Mentimeter expert?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So just scan the QR code with your mobile phone, and then it should lead you to this page before I click to the next slide, and then we are about to answer a few questions about Germany.
Yes.
If you don't want to use your phone, you can also use the website and then enter the code.
So I'm now at instructions. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super.
Okay. Okay, then I will go to the next slide. And the answer is, what are the things that come to your mind first when you think of Germany? Just type in the first thing you think of. It doesn't matter if it's a professional matter, or if you have been on vacation in Berlin, for example, and you have seen the Brandenburger Tor for the first time. So just type in whatever comes to your mind first. Yes. Okay, a lot of car-related words. Leather trousers, yes. That's related to our Bavarian colleagues here. Yeah. Arrogant, okay. Mm-hmm. Multicultural, that's right. Strictness. You can type in as many words as you want, but at one point I will just move on to the next question. But it looks quite interesting. Okay. Okay, so
it's always interesting to see what we are. Still a car country. Yeah.
Yes. Car and beer, I can see here. So the bigger the word, the more it has been written down. So Audi, BMW, beer,
Yes.
quality. So
I can also see that somebody wrote down Biofach, which is a trade fair in Nuremberg. So that's where I'm originally from and where Jan is living. So we know the trade fair very well. City always full, no chance to get a hotel there at this point of time. So I guess who of you have been to Biofach also know the city of Nuremberg quite well.
Very good.
Great. Okay, then many thanks for your first thoughts about Germany. It's quite interesting. And then we will move on to the next question. And I want you just to rate the words you see here. So what do you associate most with grocery stores and the shopping experience in Germany? So just rate the top 3, and then we'll see what do you think of the German grocery stores and the shopping experience. Okay, wide variety of goods, affordable. Yes, that's right. So we are the country of a lot of discounters, or the origin of the discounter chains, Aldi and Lidl. So that's definitely right. Cash payment. It has been a huge thing since Corona. We are used to card payments as well, but cash is definitely the most used payment in Germany as well. Efficient, fast checkout, especially at the discounters. Fully digitally equipped, that's not right. So we are definitely far away from being at all digitally equipped. But there was kind of a trap here just to see how you have experienced it. Okay. Great. Okay. So thank you at this point for your participation, and then we will move on with the presentation.
Yes, exactly. So now coming back to the presentation again, it is interesting to see that what you mentioned in the Mentimeter is also something, let's say, we always hear when we are outside of Germany working with our clients, that there are some cliches still, yeah, but there's much more about us than cars and Autobahn. Punctuality, which is really a thing here compared to other countries, I need to say still. That we are very structured and love the order, that we are not as good as, and you see this here as well, not as good as with small talk as, for example, the American guys, but coming straight to the point. And also beer and sausages is still something very interesting, where everybody or where many people think this is Germany, but to be honest, I'm living in Franconia in the south of Germany, and here, let's say, meat consumption is a very different topic on a very high level compared to wherever I was before. So still there are very distinct regional differences, and hopefully we can, let's say, clear up some of these cliches during the course of our presentation. And now coming to the food environment, for sure, we are having many different personas, but let's say many of our retailers and also the FMCG, let's say, companies, were in the past decades focusing on one of our big, let's say, main groups of customers. And let's say the different characteristics of these personas are intertwining more and more, and we're getting more personas. But let's say, generally speaking, if you ask my grandfather, who was a retailer in the past, he always had 3 personas. He had the, let's say, and that was the one he was very focused on. The, let's say, elderly people today, which were in the past, let's say, the baby boomers, the drivers of our economic success, which were very, very coming from a time where the Germans were on the rise, but let's say our wealth was not there at that time, and therefore these traditionalists were very focused on a good value for money. Although they were driving an Audi, a Mercedes, or BMW, for example, because these are the industries which are also fueling our success in the past. These households were very, very focusing on price entry levels. No fancy schmancy brands and lifestyle products, but rather focusing on the facts of a product. And these, let's say, personas, to be honest, were pushing a lot the discount development in Germany, which was, let's say, also developing beginning in the 60s, but really pushing up in the 70s and 80s. And this heritage is still in this persona group. And for sure, this is, let's say, also transferred to the younger generations. And there I come now to the middle part here, where, let's say, still value for money is important, especially for, let's say, unemotional products like, let's say, toilet paper, for example. But, and that is something which is new to this generation, then they are, let's say, also still promotional driven and interested in that. But on the other hand side, they are also interested in, let's say, what is beyond just eating food and fueling up the body. It's about experiencing new culinary things, meaning specialties from abroad, innovative foods, and let's say this, let's say, generation change is just now happening. Unfortunately, the elderly people are, let's say, flourishing from the market, unfortunately, but let's say this consumer group in the middle is raising in terms of household available money for consumption, and therefore, let's say, this is what you also see in the retailers' assortments, not only in hyper and supermarkets, but also in discounters. That these, let's say, personas want to be or should be, let's say, somehow fueled with new innovations, with the topic of organic food, which was just mentioned, which is kind of having right now a flattening development or even a slight dip because of the difficult times in terms of inflation and consumption power. But overall, I would say this is rather a temporary topic. This generation is very interested in, let's say, the story behind the product. Is where does the product come from? Is it healthy? Is it somehow fair? This development is increasing and increasing, and we are just now seeing the beginnings of the significance. And if I come now to the left, to the younger generation, they are even, and you all know that, even more critical about where does our food come from. There's a huge conflict between the left side here, the very young generation, and the right side. On the one hand side, the right side, the elderly couples say, we developed this country to what it is now. And from the other side, they are very criticized for, let's say, how they build up industries, how big the pollutions are that they created in Germany. But let's say the conflict there is, that, let's say, the left side, meaning our younger generation here, is, let's say, living the standards only because of the development, which was happening in the past. So it's a very emotional debate, which you also see in the supermarkets. And that is very interesting, and in the assortments, that you have somehow the challenge of, let's say, providing products to both of these worlds. And let's say also not only in terms of the assortment, but also in terms of the communication. In the communication in terms of promotions and so on. Retailers are, let's say, challenged in terms of providing the right offer to all of these, let's say, general persona groups. And let's say this is something where there's a high dynamic in there, and which is, from my point of view, a huge, let's say, opportunity for, let's say, exporters or exporters from nearshore countries, to mention it like this, because we are beginning to be more and more critical about global supply chains, especially in terms of food. Yes, so this is what you already saw or already heard at the beginning. We are around 85 million people here in Germany, being more and more diverse. Interesting is maybe even the middle. Yeah, we are, let's say, the country with, I would say, the highest density all over the world, at least in some urban areas here, in terms of how many opportunities or how near are your opportunities to shop in terms of grocery. And therefore, I mean, especially the diversity of shops, and I will come to that in a second. You have a huge, as a consumer, a huge potential of having a different selection and varieties of shopping options. And this is resulting, as you can see on the right side, in a very significant market in terms of sales. But what it also is resulting in is the fact that we are not spending that much money of our income on food, because the competition in the retail sector is crazy sometimes, especially compared to other countries. And because of this variety of options, consumers are, and because of our discount past, German consumers have, let's say, overall a very low share of their household income spent on food, although it's increasing because right now our, let's say, overall financial firepower on the consumer side is decreasing. Yeah. So, and what are we spending our food on? And also there's a high dynamic. Still in Germany, meat and meat-like products are driving our culinary, let's say, culinary characteristics. Overall, but what you can see, it's still over 20%, but it's decreasing and changing, especially to meat alternatives, or let's say to a vegetarian food. Therefore, let's say the milk and dairy product industry is something which is on a very stable level or even increasing. Yeah? And after that, and this Germany is a bread country. Whenever I'm for a longer period in another country, I always want to go back and want to have a nice German from next to my house produced bread. And therefore, this is something where we are very proud of. Yeah, in terms of our consumption, this is our, let's say, Brötchen, and this is our bread, our Brot. And after that, you can see, okay, for sure, we have our sweets and snacks, plus the ice cream here. Then pet food, which is having a huge increase since Corona, because at that time, many Germans who were having before a strict and structured day at work from 9 to 5 were sitting at home, and we have significant increases because of that in terms of pets, and therefore also in pet food. And that's one of the reasons why Fressnapf, which is the German distribution, let's say, chain for pet food is having a huge success in terms of revenue, in terms of stationary businesses, in terms of e-commerce effects in this pet food environment. So it's something which is very interesting to see as well. Alcoholic beverages, maybe something to mention here as well. For sure, we are very, very proud of our beer. But because of our, let's say, different regional heritages of beer, there are two worlds in Germany. We have, let's say, I always say there's this river here, Main. Everything below the Main, in the south of the Main, we have, let's say, a very, very local, and I would even say local beer culture. And abroad of the Main, where, let's say, in the past, the Prussians were very successful. We have a rather very structured over-regional thoughts of industries. And you see this also in the beer environment, where therefore here the locality of breweries is decreasing heavily and the market is driven by, let's say, the big companies called Krombacher, called Veltins, called Becks, and so on and so on. So the northern part is more pushed by big companies than the south, and maybe that's interesting for you because in the north the consumers want to have more locality, and that's the reason why small breweries and microbreweries are, let's say, right now developing, and the let's say the readiness to import and experience beer from other cultures is let's say increasing significantly, especially in the north of Germany. In the south it's a bit more difficult because there, as I mentioned, you have a brewery around the corner, and for sure you're drinking the beer from your town. Okie dokie. Next slide here. Now you see the structure of the German market. We have the big four to be which you see here in the bubbles as well. We have the Edeka Group, which is only active in Germany, so it's the biggest let's say market player in Germany. But all the other three, meaning the Schwarz Group with Lidl and Kaufland, Rewe with the discounter Penny, all of these are internationally active. So on a European level, these three players are even bigger than the Edeka Group, and especially Aldi, not forget to mention here. But besides that, we still have, although there was this consolidation in the past, some players who also drive the market. We have two dominant players in the drugstore sector, being DM and Rossmann, where especially DM is a very important player when it comes to specialties, to organic food, to driving innovations in the market. And especially because in these two drugstores, the young and innovation-ready consumers are active. It can be, and to that later in more detail, a very interesting partner for getting into the German market with qualitative food. And next to that, we have some regional players and some smaller discounters who are also, let's say, active on this market and can be an interesting first step here. Okay, maybe now to the formats we have. As I mentioned, we are a discount-driven country. After that, the format of the supermarket, medium-sized, meaning between, let's say, in general, between 1,000 and 2,000 square meters, is very dominant in Germany and have a high density in the market. As I mentioned, we have our specialist shops who are right now in the past 2 years in a very different situation because of the, let's say, consumption problems. On the other hand side, organic players had some problems, and there was, let's say, kind of a clean up of business models there. But let's say to the future, we are seeing, let's say, a good perspective, especially for these specialist shops now. Hypermarkets also, so the big boxes, compared to other European countries, I don't want to say irrelevant, but not as dominant as you know it from for example, from France, from Spain, from Italy, and so on. Yeah, and then you have the drugstores called DM and Rossmann. And what I want to show here is the private label share, which is also very interesting because Germany is so discount driven. The private label share or exclusive brand share on price entry level or good value for money is very high in Germany. Or let's say, especially now in the last years, are even more and more driven and pushed.
I would like to ask, so you should switch, you should look on the...
Sorry?
I think we can continue.
Okay. Yes. So that was just to give you a brief introduction of what is the market. If you go to the next slide, for sure, there are still some characteristics which are driving the different formats. Discounters are focused on private label massively. They are introducing top sellers in their assortment, which is somehow criticized even by consumers. Wow, now you are also focusing on brands like Ferrero, like Haribo, and so on and so on. Where is my price entry characteristic of discounters? And that's the reason why they are also even Lidl and Aldi having some problems from the bottom, meaning, for example, Norma is one of these examples. They are getting increased market share because they are hardcore focusing again on very minimalistic presentation, only on price entry level. And that's something the discounters now need to learn. Do I want to develop even further in the direction of supermarkets and increasing my organic assortment and so on, and risking my price perception here? Yeah. Or do I need to come back to my essentials? And Aldi, for example, is going right now back to the essentials, being very price aggressive, reducing the brand, let's say, share again in their portfolio and focusing on pricing promotions of private label. On the other hand side, you have the supermarkets, which are giving you a lot of regional options. We have a higher, let's say, share of specialties and branded products, and let's say you have our family-driven businesses here who are very open to try new things and not waiting for national listings of Edeka or Rewe as a corporation, but where you have the chance to enter the market. And then on the right-hand side, you have the hypermarkets where you can get everything you want, but as I mentioned, it is not having the highest density here in Germany. Let's say, big boxes are having right now even a very difficult time because of, let's say, or going down to the essentials as consumers, where they have high stocks now in their big boxes and not enough frequency. And that's the reason why hypermarkets are having the biggest issues during our current consumption dip. Okay, that was an overall view on that topic. We would go now, let's say, into detail about the different players that you know we are talking about, and coming afterwards to our strategies.
Exactly. Thank you, Jan. So I will dig a little bit deeper. And first of all, I wanted to show you what are the issues which mainly the retailers are fighting with at the moment. There are a lot of them. And a lot of them came up more and more over the last couple of years, which are price wars amongst them, which are price wars with the suppliers, which is the supply shortage, which came up and was already mentioned before. Then, of course, which Jan already mentioned, is this ongoing discount versus supermarket, but also, and this is all the way on the bottom, which is the biggest impact on the market at the moment, also is the changing consumer preferences, which on the one term is in terms of pricing, what are they willing to pay for what kind of product. That moves a lot. We will see this a little bit later when we dig a bit more into the product itself. So there are a lot of changes, a lot of movement in the market, and either supermarkets, discounters, or hypermarkets have to adapt to that in their own and certain way. That's why we'll dive a little bit deeper into a SWOT analysis for each of them. And please be aware that I will not go into too much detail, because also we don't want to bore you with too much text and too much very small details. So you will get all of this later by us as a PDF where you can read through. I just want to show you that, for example, there are huge differences for strengths and different threats also for each of those supermarkets. So as, for example, a supermarket chain, they're focusing on a broad range of product and high quality, which is clearly their strength, but they have higher prices. And depending on which product category we're talking about, those high prices with the changing consumer behavior can really have a big shift for them. So consumers will go more to discounters for this in 1 year. The after year changes and their sentiment is changing a bit. That's why they are always in different product category in very intense competition with discounters, and need to really pay attention to the shifting consumer behaviors. Where do we need to expand our private label share? Where can we keep it with brands? So this is always something they have to look at. On the other hand, we have the next on the next slide, we have the low price champions. So those are the discounters. They always dive into easy prices, so price entry. They have a lot of private label products. However, you don't find anything you want. When you want specialty products, something special for cooking at home, baking, you will not find it there. So they're limited there. And because it's simpler presented, often consumers think it's a lower product quality, and they do not like to shop there because of this. Next of it, the threats there are they have intense competition amongst each other, and the consumer behavior also there changes too much. So the issues about low cost product is always a bit hard for them to engage in. And then on the next slide, you can see for the hypermarkets, so they are the one-stop shop, which kind of has huge, large selling spaces. They allow huge combination also of food and non-food. In this case, however, they are like a little bit stuck in between. On the one hand, they have the supermarkets. On the other hand, they have the discounters. So they really need to keep the consumers in kind of their, let's say, own space. So they need to maybe push on more reward programs. So people are really making the way to those hypermarkets, which usually outside of the city centers, not easy to reach, and shop kind of all there. So they need to show them why you should go there. So this just for the SWOT analysis shortly. You can definitely read through that a little bit later. And for questions on this, we're happy to help you. Now we want to show you a little bit more about retailers itself. So how they're organized and what their market share is. We came in the beginning already. So the biggest one is the Edeka Group. What is very special about this Edeka Group is also that is a cooperative. So they are organized in 7 regional cooperatives, and the stores are independently owned by the guys who run it. So they either have a few ones, 1 or 2, they either have more of them, and they operate in smaller supermarkets, but also can be bigger hypermarkets in this case. And on the other hand, they also have a discount line, which is called Netto, and a drugstore, Budni, which is none of the leaders, but it's still out there. And they also have a share in a picnic delivery service, grocery delivery service. However, they operate independently of Edeka. So this is the biggest one. They have 11,000 stores, and you definitely see them everywhere. They're kind of positioned from the name Edeka a bit higher, a bit above a lot of other stores. So this is kind of a bit the premium supermarket, but of course, depending a little bit on the region, depending a bit on who's running it and what their positioning in this region is. So you might find very premium Edekas to more standard Edekas, depending on your region where you are. Then the next one is the Rewe Group. Rewe Group, quite big also. Market share with Rewe Group is 21%, 11,000 stores. You see it's very close to Edeka. The headquarters is in Köln. And they also have much more services. So they have the Rewe supermarkets, they have Penny as a discounter, and then they also have different other markets like Nahkauf and Hit, also hypermarket with Selgros, cash and carry, which are huge markets in many cities. But then also they have a touristic operator on their side, and they also have a DIY chain, which is called Toom. So there are very Rewe is positioned like Edeka, however, maybe mostly a little bit below. They used to have a higher private label share. However, this changed also a lot as Edeka pushed a lot on private labels. But they are definitely the main competitors for Edeka, coming to, on the one hand, on the supermarket, a little bit more premium side, but then also with Penny on the discount side with Netto. And then, of course, we will have the discounters. So the bigger discount change, we are not coming from a supermarket environment. So here we have the Schwarz Group. Most of you will know Lidl, because Lidl is not operating in Germany only. As Rewe is also a little bit more international, Lidl is much more international, as is Kaufland also, their hypermarket chain. So they're operating in many countries, also in the UK, in Ireland, France, Italy. So they are well distributed across Europe, and they're really the leading centralized discount chain when you look at this in Germany. So they made a huge way up. They're based in Neckarsulm, which is more in the south of Germany, and run their also international business mostly from there. They are expanding as much as they can, so with 4,000 stores, but they're pushing on and want to be big distributed either in the city centers, but also in more rural areas. And then we have another big discount chain, which also operates globally. It's Aldi. They're distributed in the North and the South division. The history of that is there were two brothers which separated their businesses. One takes over the more north of Germany, the other one in the south. And they also have a huge global business, also operate in the United States, in Austria. So they really expanded also overseas. In Germany, there are kind of the same amount of stores like Lidl. However, they don't have this market share. Market share is a little bit below. What they are looking also into, they want to be, from the look and feel, a little bit more premium for a discounter. So they try to get really modern stores in. They always develop their product range. They're really strong in developing good and up-to-date trendy private label product. So for Austria, for example, they pushed for like a own private label, which is reusing products. So out of their old vegetables and fruits, they do some marmalades and things from the private label on the reuse. So they're very trendy and pushing on that. I would say they even set the pace on trendy private label product over many years. So that's where they are strong with. And then, as you saw in the slide, which Jan presented before, there is another group of retailers, which is a little bit smaller. However, they are forming a kind of, let's say, trade group, trade union. So it's a bigger trade group who on the one hand has a Rossmann store, and then this is the drugstore, and on the other hand, the Netto discount. But then you see a lot of supermarkets, which are usually local players, regional players. Regional players, which is Globus or Bünding or Tegut. Those guys you usually know in a certain area of Germany where you're from. They're smaller retailers. However, they grouped together under the retail trade group to also towards the suppliers to be to act as one voice and be there stronger. So the market consolidated and they needed to move because separately they didn't see the chance to operate against the big ones. So this about the all different retailers. Now we look a bit on the industry landscape, and because we're quite short on time, I have said I want to give room for questions, and also Caroline, of course, after with the big point how to enter the market. We will just shortly move through and you can dig in after. So here, just to explain on this slide, we just show you a little bit how the development in industry is. So what is the share in private labels? Who are the leading brands in, for example, dairy product and milk substitutes? And on the next slide, you will see then a bit more about what it is with snacks and how it's going on. And for example, if we move to the beer consumption side on 27, it's what Jan already said, that on the one hand, we are a big beer country. On the other hand, you see in Germany a lot that alcoholic beverages decrease. So alcohol-free beer and options are increasing a lot over the years. So we will give you this just to have a short and fast overview about the industries, and whoever part you're operating in, you can look how the market is. And with any questions about this, you can please come back to us and we will answer it to you and give you more specific industry detail on this, because we're also working a lot with suppliers and industry out of those sectors and have a lot of details what's developing strategically there over the next couple of years. And that would hand over now to Caroline, who will give you strategies to success, how to enter this challenging market in Germany.
Okay, yes, thank you, Florian. So I will just dive right into it. So when entering a new market, you can use this process to structure your project, and we highly recommend you to have different stages. So first will be the preparation stage, which we have already done during this presentation for you. So you have seen in the previous slides that we did like a very short market research, which needs to be done by you, of course, more extensively to understand the demand for Lithuanian products in Germany and for the German grocery market. This also includes a competitor analysis and even more diving into the consumer preferences and how your product can differentiate from the local or the international products already in the German market. Of course, it's important to have a goal and overall strategy when entering the German market. Within the planning and contact stage, and I will talk a bit more about this in the next slides, it's all about the distribution channel. So you need to explore the distribution channels, considering supermarkets, specialty stores, or online platforms, which align with the preferences of the German consumers. It's also important to adjust your product to the consumer preferences, but also to the customers, to the retailers. I know from my experience that Lidl has a huge catalog of requirements which you need to adapt to your product packaging, labeling, formulation, and so forth. It's also important to have a competitive pricing, especially talking with discounters, and we will talk about this in a few minutes as well. You will realize that negotiating with discounters is quite challenging, but also Edeka, as the largest retailer, they do have their requirements, and they will not give up on their prices. And then marketing, for sure, you need to have a big marketing plan behind your product, because how is the consumer, the German consumer, supposed to get to know your product, to see your product, if there's not a big marketing plan behind it? And then it's also important to consider the most opportune time to enter the market. So this is about seasonality, trends, or even potential events that could impact the consumer behavior in buying your product. And during the whole launch and execution stage, you also need to establish key performance indicators, so-called KPIs, to track and evaluate the success of your market entry strategy, and also adjusting the tactics based on the feedback and the data. Moving on to the next slide, and I already said that we are looking into the second stage, the planning and the contact stage, and we have this these different phases. So they do not come in this precise order, but we recommend you to first decide on the distribution and the sales channel first before adapting the product in respect thereof. Because as I said, a lot of retailers, they do have their requirements. For example, for the measurements of the outer case or the weight of the outer case, Lidl, for example. So you need to adapt not only the product formulation or the product design from Lithuanian to German, but also the packaging measurements to fit the requirements of the retailer. And then, of course, you need to change the pricing to your specific product in order to negotiate with the buyer and have like competitive pricing for the consumers in the market. And then, as I said, really develop a marketing plan which highlights the importance of your product in the category and the importance for the consumer to buy it. So there are for sure different ways to enter a market, but we just want to show you two distribution ways. So first will be the classic retail way, so directly exporting your product from Lithuania to the German retail. So this gives you more flexibility and autonomy within the entire value chain. But on the other hand, depending on the goods you have, you need to have a warehouse in Germany or even closer to Germany so you can ship much faster. Of course, there's also the opportunity to communicate directly with the German consumer, for example, via an online shop or a pop-up store in Germany itself. The second option would be a third-tier distribution, meaning selling your product to a wholesaler, which then sells your product to the German retail. And this is handy because the wholesaler, they do have an established distribution network already, and they do know the market, they have the market knowledge, and they can facilitate the navigation through the regulatory requirements and also the consumer preferences. And we are naming here three different wholesalers. They are more, they are companies which are selling products more from the Mediterranean area, but they are widely distributed in the retail sector in Edeka, Rewe, and also Lidl. So this way is definitely working for most of the retailers. Yes, so we have now talked a lot about retailers, and you already know even more about discounters, supermarkets, and hypermarkets. But on this slide, we want to show you our classification of the German retailers. On the x-axis, you see the perception of the price positioning from the point of view of the consumers, which is important here. And on the y-axis, you see the perceived quality. Perceived quality does not mean that the products at Norma, for example, are pretty bad. It's just an overall analysis of the product being on shelf, but also including the services. And since Lidl, Aldi, and Norma do not have meat counters, the service equals 0. So that's why the perceived overall quality is lower here. But, well, not surprisingly, the discounters are on the left-hand bottom corner with a low perceived pricing and quality. But this is not bad. It just means that consumers think that, for example, Lidl has a good value for money, especially considering the level of quality. On the other hand, we cannot say that being on the top right corner is the goal. It all depends on where you want to position your product. And this is the matrix here. So your task is now to fill in the matrix from a pricing and brand value point of view, and then you can match it with the respective retailer on the left side. So this will give you an indication which retailer to approach first. When you've decided which retailer you want to approach, there are two ways of doing business with the retailer. So first it's listing, and second it's promotion. And there are some differences, but mostly it's kind of similar how they operate. So you either have the chance to get centrally listed, which is, to be honest, highly unlikely for you. So it's more possible to get a module listing. That means that the stores are clustered in different modules, A, B, and C. C being the smallest ones, A being the biggest ones, and then you get listings separated to the different store clusters. The same for supermarkets. So you either have the central listing or the regional listing. We were talking about Edeka, for example. So you will be talking in the negotiation stage with Edeka HQ in Hamburg, but you will not or never get a central listing for your product throughout whole Germany. You have to talk with the regional buyers as well to get regional listings, and then you can expand from region to region. And then in the end, ultimately, you will have a central listing, but not central first. You have to go from small to big. What is important? It's definitely important to be relevant or to show your relevance in the category. You need to show them that you push the category development and convince them incredibly that your product is attracting new customers and or is increasing the basket size. The discount, for example, only focuses on success stories, so only on your top sellers. I was working for Colgate, and Lidl as well as Aldi, they were only looking for the toothpaste, which was the highest rotating and highest sold product in the market. Other toothpaste they wouldn't agree on. So this was the product they wanted most. Of course, the trade margin is very important, especially for discounts. And Lidl, they were naming us their target trade margin. So they are only looking at trade margin percentage. So 30% and above is the minimum you need to offer them. Otherwise, you won't. They won't talk to you. Although I have to say this is only for the hygiene and the beauty sector, so it might differ in other categories. In the supermarket, it's a bit different. They also want to have successful products, of course, but depending on the strategy of the retailer, for example, Rewe, they want to also have products which contribute to their strategy. For example, innovative products, sustainable products, organic products. So this also is a chance for you to get into those retailers if you know what their strategy is and if your product or your product range contributes to this. On the other hand, you have the promotion business, which is a bit more fast-paced. So the most important KPI is the sell-out rate or sell-through rate. For Netto, Penny, Lidl, and Aldi, you need to be sold out of, I think, 60% in the first week. So this is something you need to guarantee to the customer that your product is be selling out on this high value within the first week. Otherwise, you will not have a chance to be in a promotion.
Caroline, I'm very sorry. So I'm very sorry to push you there. Can you maybe, because of the time, go to our last slide of that chapter?
Yes, sure. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yes. As we are approaching our slot, sorry for that. I just wanted to give you some last tips and hints, which might be interesting for you as well. So just not to be pessimistic here, but national listings are highly unlikely with large retailers. So your chance to get a listing is targeting regional buyers. And being successful on a regional level will open doors for you to discuss with the national buyer. You also have the opportunity to have test listings, which are temporary and also regional. It's on the other side, it's also important to have the exact or the right timing to approach the buyers. From October to January, it's annual negotiation phase. You probably know that. So in this period, you won't reach a buyer because they are busy doing negotiations. Also, what we've experienced is that retailers are actively looking for private label suppliers because in the past, the value chain became quite fragile. So they are always looking for other opportunities to change their private label suppliers with other ones or just to add more to their current portfolio. So this is also a chance for you maybe to approach them from that angle. We also received the question about the timeline. So what I've experienced from my past is that the best timeline is minimum 6 months. So depending on the product and on the product, on the stage your product is in, you will need to have 6 months from negotiating the prices and shipping to the warehouse. And the biggest challenge here is actually to meet the requirements of the retailer and also have all the master data ready to be put in their system. And last but not least, we have seen the trend towards organic and more sustainable food. So if you have products which are highlighting these kind of products or these kind of trends, then you will have a good chance to address the retailer here and have maybe a good talk with them and see how it's going. Okay, so this was my part then.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
thank you so much, Mr. Jan Witte, Ms. Carolyn Strunz, and Florian Friedler for amazing presentation about peculiarities in the grocery retail sector in Germany. All our attendees will receive the presentation after our webinar. Thanks a lot for sharing the knowledge. Now I would like to turn to the Q&A session. And I kindly welcome our attendees to give questions to our experts. Well, actually, we received a lot of questions beforehand, and most of them were covered during the presentation. So if we do not have raised hands, I will give you one question from the given ones. So do German consumers still stay loyal to German origin products? What would be your opinion?
A classic consulting answer, it depends. Yeah. The more, let's say, regional or local product characteristic, as I mentioned, for example, bread. Yeah. This is something where you have regional differences, and it will be hard to come in and say, okay, this is, let's say, our product. What a German, let's say, what a German doesn't know, he doesn't eat, but only reflects on, let's say, regional specific product groups. As I mentioned with beer as well, depending on the regionality. So it's hard to say. There is no openness, especially when we come to new personas, and it's about innovation. Yeah, tradition is never, let's say, characterized as innovative. Meaning, for many German producers, it's hard to do this step and introducing new innovations. Yeah, because if you do it, you need to communicate your whole brand differently. And from my point of view, that's a chance to come over, let's say, innovative products and to find a way besides the, let's say, traditional consuming habits. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot for sharing your opinion. Thank you, Mr. Jan. So now I would like to invite our last but not least speaker, Mr. Holger Buckner, a retail and communication expert at Food Embassy. And Mr. Holger Buckner will share how he can assist Lithuanian companies while entering the German market.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the insight we just got. It was super interesting. Sorry, and in that moment my phone is ringing. So I'm trying to share my screen. I hope it worked. Do you guys see our presentation?
Almost. Yeah.
You see
Yes,
it?
perfect. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much. So we are now talking about entering a new market, which brings us to the fact that a lot of people in the new market, which is in that case Germany, have not a clue about the products from Lithuania in that case, where they come from and what history the products have. So this is something I witnessed it in the past so many times that I decided to starting an agency for culinary diplomacy and communications. Means the Food Embassy is there to help you to set your feet in a new market, to arrive in Germany and get the market know, but also let the local people, the consumers and the buyers know about the heritage of your brand and kind of translate this in the local market that you want to reach. So a little bit about us. Food Embassy is relatively new. We're founded in 2020. And as I said, we're dedicated in the field of culinary diplomacy. We work for brands and products, but also we work a lot for countries and regions. Like, for example, we recently had a photo event in Berlin with Lithuania, but we're working a lot with the country of Canada, so helping Canadian brands and products reaching the German market or the DACH market. And therefore, we're working not just with the companies, but also with governmental institutions. This is a short introduction into our clients. You see there's many governmental institutions as well as companies. So, and why culinary diplomacy? Culinary diplomacy is needed because there is always a missing our understanding and knowledge about the cultural and culinary landscape in the country, or the country you aim for when you want to bring your products to this market, but also the local market has, as I said earlier, no idea what your product stands for and what your product maybe has its specialty. And also, as the last presentation mentioned it, we have difficulty in difficult regularities, like the regularities in Lithuania are different to the ones in Germany, for example, and the labeling and how you get into the market and what the supermarket etc. needs. So we have also a missing market and product knowledge. Means that how does the market work is not known for the foreign producers, but also how what the uniqueness of the product is not something that the local consumers or the local press or the local buyers know. Maybe there's a great product in another country, and this would probably super fit to Germany, but no one knows about that. And we are there to help in that case. And the last point, there is a missing network. So if I want to go to a new market and I have a great product, but how do I reach the right people at Edeka or the right person, the German press, to make sure I get the attention that my product actually needs? I don't have this network as a foreign producer, so I need someone to help me with that network to get me into that local circle. So we put it together. I think we put it together in 2 words: it's visibility and availability. So we need to make sure the products are seen, but also they're available, because what we also learned in the past, especially with small market entrance, like when you start in the market, it's not always like it. There's a lot of money behind, and you are available at every shelf. So it's very important that the product, even especially when you start regional, like in the last presentation was mentioned, maybe in the north of Germany with a couple of independent Edeka markets, it's visible in that region, for example, so the local people know that this product exists and it's in the shelf. But also, if you have it visible, you have to make sure it's available. So this is something where we focus our work on. Our services include communications that mean like we help you to set up the right marketing for your product when you enter the market. We help you with public relations, and we also help you with social media. Means we make sure if you reach the German market and you wanna get yourself out there, you have the support to get visible. It's super important to speak with the local consumers in their local language. And we understand if you start in a market, you don't have the staff right away to set up your own social media campaign, to start your own German website. So you need someone who is helping you with that service, and this is the Food Embassy. Here's some examples of like magazines where it's important to be in. For example, the Länder Report is part of the Lebensmittelzeitung, which is Germany's most important trade magazine. Feinschmecker is a B2C magazine where people like the readers are curious what is new in the culinary world. You could also set your own social media channels for your product, or work with Food News Germany, for example, to get the word out in the social media world about your food when it goes to the German market. We also support you when it comes to design and photography services. Means like the presentation said earlier, like you need to make sure your product has the right design for the local market. So you need to have the right visual story, but also you need maybe to have like photos from events, but also from your products that fit for your press campaign in Germany, for your marketing campaign. And this is something where we're really, really happy to help you. And to combine this, we are helping you with go-to-market strategies. Means we'll look into your product in your plan and see where can we partner you, not just with where can we partner with you, not just from the communication side, but also like making matches to the right market entry partners. If it's like consultants for labeling, for regulations, for market research, to make sure all goes like in a 360 degrees way. So we don't have like communications and your distribution strategy like are disconnected. Because what we learned in the past again is like visibility and availability has to work together. And this is like a unique way, because of many agencies, especially in the communication sector, they're just focusing on the communication part, but it's necessary to connect this with your distribution program. Another very, very interesting way to get into the market is when you start small before you scaling up and you're reaching like the bigger retailers, that you start with e-commerce activities, especially in Europe, where we have like no borders in that way. Like with custom problems, you can easily sell your products in other European markets. Of course, it would be the best if you have a local fulfillment solution, but e-commerce could help to get like the first number, to get the first KPIs that you can also use later to convince the retailers that there is already a demand on your product. So what we could do for you, we can work together and set up your own web shops, your own German web shops, but also we could like help you to connect with the local marketplace like Amazon, etc. And also we can help you with events and trade show support, means to make sure you are visible. It's not just the PR campaign or the marketing plan, it's also like being at a trade show, talking to the local people, to the buyers, to the press. We support you with that, but also we make sure if you like to organize your own event, to present your own product, for example, for social media influencers, we can arrange with you an event so they can learn about the product, and it's like focusing just on your story. That is very important from our point of view, that you speak to the people where you want to reach the market. For example, we had a dinner last year organized with a Finnish company where Edeka buyers learned about the uniqueness of the products, and also that made sure that people like get into like a social interaction, and then you have the emotion, and with the emotion and with the social interaction, you start to have a network, and you gaining a feeling for the German market. And in that case, the buyers were able to have a culinary journey, in that case with a Finnish product, without even going to Finland. And something like this could be also implemented for Lithuanian products. So this is my short presentation, and I hope that this gave you a little bit of an insight of the work of the Food Embassy. And if you are interested to work with us, to hear more from us, we are very, very happy to talk to you in the future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Holger Böckner, for valuable information. As we are out of time scheduled for our webinar, I want to genuinely thank to our honored speakers and attendees, and we are pretty sure you heard loads of relevant information. All information about LitFood's upcoming events you can find at LitFood's website and LinkedIn. And our special thank goes to Ms. Eivina. Thanks a lot for assisting as much as you can for Lithuanian companies to expand to German markets. Thanks a lot.
So just from my side, thank you very much for the golden tips and tricks, how to enter the market, trying my best to bring more Lithuania to Germany, or to raise awareness in Germany about the Lithuanian product. And I see that the attendees ask how it's the best way to get in touch with two agencies, with the Horn&Company and Food Embassy, and stay assured that we'll share the presentations as well as contact details for the further communication, because much was said, but there can be still a lot to discuss, in particular to every company's needs, and to find the tailored solutions. So thank you very much for the LitFood for giving us the platform to connect. Thank you for very precious time to the Horn&Company. Thank you for the service overview for the Food and Embassy. And yeah, I see you in a couple of weeks with some of you at ProWein in Düsseldorf. And yeah, stay in touch. Hit me up with the questions as well. I'll try to do my best research. And yeah, stay in touch, and all the best. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.